Iran is denying responsibility for the Saudi Arabian oil field attack that disrupted 5% of the world's daily oil supply, sending oil prices sharply higher. President Trump tweeting this morning, "Remember when Iran shot down a drone, saying knowingly that it was in their airspace, when in fact it was nowhere close? They struck strongly into the story, knowing that it was a very big lie. Now they say they had nothing to do with the attack on Saudi Arabia. We'll see." This after last night saying that the U.S. has, quote, reason to believe that we know the culprit and are locked and loaded, depending on verification. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo calling our allies to hold Iran accountable. But just now, how much international support have we gotten despite this brazen attack? I want to bring in Fox News security analyst Walid Phares to help us break it all down. Of course, we're talking a geopolitical implications since Saturday's oil field strikes. Where do you think we go from here if indeed Iran is responsible?
Well, the Iranians made us very clearly know that they intend on doing so. Remember when we shut down their export of oil, what did they declare, all levels of their regime? That if we cannot export you to the other side of the Gulf, that would be Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, you won't be able to do the same. So this attack basically is an execution of the Iranian threat. And of course, you know the economic consequence of this attack. My concern is that this may not be the only attack, because in the south, in Yemen, they have waged more than one ballistic missile attacks, and they continue to do so. The question is, what do we do? Both the Saudis and, of course, ourselves. And the choices are very critical here. If we do not respond, the Iranians will wage another attack until they get to what they want. If we do respond, we need to calculate very, very carefully what will be the next steps, meaning we will have to escalate. That's where the administration, the White House are at this point in time, in my view.
President Trump, though, has been very reluctant. He has been trying his best not to get into any sort of military skirmish. Perhaps that was at the center of Ambassador Bolton, Secretary Bolton, no longer with the administration. But to your point, the world is looking for some sort of response. And from what I'm reading, even those who aren't necessarily fond of this administration believe it's got to be targeted, it's got to be swift, but it has to be very, very powerful.
You will have a number in the Congress that they want to do something about it, because this is really serious. It's the nerve of the world production of energy. We know that. And if we don't do anything, the Iranians will move forward with other strikes, other activities. The response, though, we have a choice either to respond on Iranian soil, and that has a calculation, or there's another option, to arm opposition groups in Iraq who are opposing the Iranian militias, who most likely have waged that missile, to attack Iran themselves, and tell the Iranians, oh, we have nothing to do with that. These are militias, like your militias. That will be another option as well.
Well, would that go then in the category of regime change? And also, why can't we do both?
We can do both, but really it's about calculations. How far would the Trump administration want to go at few months from a major presidential campaign? Because you're going to also look at what Iran wants to do. If we don't go all the way, and we're not prepared at this point in time, I think then the Iranian regime will manipulate this and say, oh, it's a failed war, it's another Iraq, and so on and so forth. So we need to be intelligent and strike in a very smart way, so that the Iranians will tell us, okay, we're ready for a ceasefire.
But it's clear that the line, you know, even though it wasn't officially drawn, that a line was crossed, and we understand what kind of pressure and criticism President Obama came under when his stated line was crossed. Something must be done, and it has to be done quickly. Real quick before I let you go, are you shocked at how easy it was? I mean, we're talking about knocking out over 50% of Saudi Arabia's capacity with drones. I'm really surprised. I can't believe all the billions that they've spent on military and defense, that it was that easy.
You know what? That's a great question. Every first major attack is surprising. Pearl Harbor, and continue with that. What happened basically is, most likely, they used Iraq to attack us and not straight from Iran. I mean, we are ready for Iran. We are not ready for that from Iraq, a pro-Iranian militia would do it. Now, the second wave is going to be different.
All right. Walid, always appreciate your expertise. Thank you.